is Ryan Miller, and for the past 15 years, I've helped hundreds of people to raise millions of dollars for their funds and for their startups. If you're serious about raising money, launching your business, or taking your life to the next level, this show will give you the answers so that you too can enjoy your pursuit of making billions. Let's get into it.
As an investor, it is your job to make a profit. Often we look to the upside to get it done. But what about strategies to bring efficiency in the biggest cost of them all? That's right. We're talking about a program that is estimated to save hundreds of billions of dollars for investors like you so that you too can enjoy your pursuit of making billions. Here we go. Hey, welcome to another episode of Making Billions. I'm your host, Ryan Miller, and today I have my dear friend, Nate Bradshaw. Nate is the co-founder and chief operating officer at B10 Energy. Nate is an expert in energy tax savings for private equity funds and family offices with over $20 billion in AUM. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Taxes are just a line item on my income statement. Why should I even care this much about it? Well, you should care because Nate and his team at B10 Energy are bringing tax savings to investors through energy tax credits so that they too can enjoy their pursuit of making billions. So Nate, welcome to the show, man.
Ryan, such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big, longtime fan of the show. It kind of surreal, honestly, to be counted among some of your other guests. I think you had like Andy Lee on recently, RJ Burr. These are, legends, man. I mean, you've got great guests, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're certainly numbered among them. We've been very fortunate to be in the top 3% in the world, and it's all because of amazing guests like you. And yes, Andy Lee and RJ Burr are phenomenal. They understand energy, they understand taxes, yes. And we're going to chop it up to show investors, those of you want to keep listening all the way to the end, because we're going to talk about how to actually save money, not only in maybe capital gains, but residual income. There's a lot of things that we're going to get into. So let's jump right into it, Nate. Let's hit them between the eyes. How do investors win and not lose? Maybe we can get into some of that. From your perspective, tell me how this energy tax credit thing, what is it, and how do people save money?
Yeah, no, I mean, Ryan, amazing. Thank you so much. Love to. So energy tax credits are not anything new. These have been around since largely the 90s. And for those of your listeners that maybe are like, a credit, what are we talking about here? So the best way to think about a tax credit is it's like an IRS gift card, right? So it's a dollar for dollar elimination of your tax bill. A deduction is what happens larger upstream, right? So you have, income, you have expenses that gets to your net income, and that's how you calculate your tax, right? So deduction is going to be one of those expenses that lowers your tax bill versus like a credit. That's an elimination of your tax. If you owe $10,000 and you have a $10,000 tax credit, you owe $0 in tax, right? So credits are super powerful, incredible. And renewable energy tax credits, basically credits the government issues for investments into renewable energy projects. Not anything new, but today I will tell your audience a little bit more about what has happened over the last couple of years, where a lot of these credits have now become transferable, meaning you can buy and sell them, and how powerful that is for them.
Brilliant. You and I have gotten to know each other. We've known each other for a while now. And you explained something that's very interesting about how people win on two fronts. So on investing and on tax wins. So talk about how people win on the investment front and on the tax front.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So these credits that I brought up, when they became transferable a few years ago, it really opened up the doors for investment opportunities into this renewable space, because prior to these credits becoming transferable, and this happened specifically in 2022 with the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act. That's specifically when these credits became transferable. Prior to that, if you wanted to make an investment into a renewable energy project, some kind of hydrogen, solar, something of that nature, you had to really be a pretty specific type of investor, because in order to get the returns to really pencil for you, you needed to be able to absorb all of the tax benefits out of those projects and then have that be part of the calculation into the types of net returns that you're looking at for the project. So sometimes these projects are kicking off $80 million of tax benefits, for example. Well, there's not a lot of people that can absorb $80 million of tax benefit. They don't have that kind of liability. And so it just was very, very narrowing of where these investment opportunities became available. With the transferability, it's blown the doors open. Basically, now you can have interest either in the economics relative to the credits themselves, or you can come and invest in these projects knowing that those credits can be sold off, bringing in new capital into these projects, and it makes them pencil completely different. And we're seeing in the market, already, something like $50-60 billion over the last couple of years, new capital infused into really that sector. And largely it's just because the economics are completely different now than they were even 2 years ago.
Man, that's incredible. So a lot of these things, and I'm a big fan of that, of just making sense of regulation and doing it intelligent and providing tax incentives to have other people explore it. So I remember many years ago when I was deep into the traditional energy sector, and they had accelerated depreciation. And so the government came out and said, sure, if you want to drill new wells, we'll help you to get your capital back, the CapEx and all of those exciting things that you get to do. We'll help you to do it. So these are similar, but now instead of traditional energy sources, which I'm also a big fan of. I'm a fan of all energy, but now we're into renewables, and there's tons of exciting technology that's coming out. But what has to drive technology, and especially on this show, we know it, is we need investors to do that, and they need incentives to enter a new sector that may be fairly new and they don't understand, but it does make sense from a dollars and cents standpoint. So from the investment wind we can do, but what about the tax wind? Like, let's unpack the taxes. Talk about how these renewable tax credits help save a lot of capital for investors, and unpack that part.
Yeah, no, amazing. Thank you so much for that. And, quickly to your point, yeah, I'm an investor in typical energy as well. So I'm an oil and gas investor in addition to being in renewables. I think you and I both agree that, just energy, investments into energy, right, is something that's huge, that are big opportunities for that right now, but also the government's incentivizing that really heavily. And I think that that's specifically where we now get in kind of on the tax side. The transferability of these credits has really opened up for passive income and, those high net worth individuals with a lot of passive income, those that want to make investments that are in that bucket, or C corporations. So, corporations that again, the nice thing about C corp is that the way income kind of flows into it, it does designate passive and active, but largely it kind of gets thrown together in the wash. So really these passive income renewable energy tax credits, they can offset either C corp income or passive income for high net worth individuals, family offices, other investors. But now with the transferability, you can buy these credits from those that have them rather than having to be invested in a project specifically. You can just have interest in the tax credits. So you can just be someone that is earning a lot of income, has a large tax liability, and you can go out in the open market and you can buy these things for maybe 90 cents, 91 cents and offset $1 of tax. So you can take your, $1 million tax bill and you can pay $900,000 for enough credits to eliminate your $1 million tax bill. Right. So in that scenario, you get to net and keep an extra $100,000 you otherwise would have paid in tax, but now you don't have to, just for fun, just because you went and got some credits from somebody that could sell them to you. And they're going to use those dollars now in their projects. They're going to make investments into that space. That's incredible. But you get a 10% discount on your taxes. Like, that's awesome. You're paying for your taxes with these gift cards and you're getting to buy these gift cards at a discount.
Yeah, I love the gift card analogy. So these renewable energy tax credits, these RETCs, they're composed of investment tax credits as well as producer tax credits. Can you maybe draw the line between those two?
Yeah, absolutely. So investment and then the production tax credits on the other side. So really you're going to often hear, when you're talking about RETCs, you're going to hear ITC. So that's those investment tax credits, and then production tax credits. So PTCs, investment tax credits, ITCs, those are, and really, when you're investing into a new renewable energy project, and these credits are a part of that package, you can designate and sort of pick, right? Am I going to take the ITCs out of this project, or am I going to take the PTCs? You have to take one or the other. You can't take both in most instances. But the ITCs, that's going to be where you're getting a certain amount of tax credits back up front relative to the investment that was made into that project. That's why they're called investment tax credits. So, if it costs $1 million to get into a project, and it's in a certain geographic zone and you meet other certain requirements, then maybe 40% of the cost of that project, that $1 million, would be issued in tax credits. So 400,000 tax credits that you can sell now, right? You can sell those off for, $350,000. And that's now cash you otherwise wouldn't have had before, but you get to have in your project to either buy down debt, make new investments into that project. Make the numbers pencil for your investors. PTCs, they're going to be a certain amount of credits that are issued against the production of that project over time. So, if it's kicking off, 1 megawatt a year, 2 megawatts a year, 5 megawatts a year, whatever it is, there's a certain amount of credits relative to the energy production from that project. And those will come every single year that project is producing. You get those PTCs. So how investors choose or how project developers choose, are we going to do the ITCs or the PTCs? It often is a strategic decision on their side, but, based on what their incentives are, at any given time and their objectives in the project. But high net worth individuals got a lot of passive income. Either way, you buy a PTC or an ITC, it offsets income, and that's a win. So if you're looking at these things from the tax perspective, you're winning. Whether you're buying ITCs, PTCs, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You get those, you get them at a good price, you're winning. And if you are an investor, whether you're taking the ITCs or the PTCs, you're invested in a project. As long as you can have an offtake and sell those things off, that's going to provide cash for you into your project, and it's going to make the numbers pencil a lot better.
Awesome. So I'm sure at this point, a lot of people, whether your family office or somebody or your high net worth listening to the show, you're probably wondering, where do I get those? Now, we're going to get into that in a minute. Nate, I'm going to ask you, where do people actually acquire these to get those tax savings? I'm assuming calling you is probably one of the answers. But so you want to hang in there in the end, where we're actually going to tell you actually how to do this, how to get it, how to save money, how to actually fold this in and acquire these tax credits to help reduce your tax bill legally, ethically, and more importantly, most efficiently, right? So if we're all running businesses, we all have whether you call it income statement, P&L, we have a responsibility to be responsible stewards of capital, whether it's our own or other people's. And so managing tax and tax efficiency is certainly part of that. So I love having you here. I really do. So let's transition a little bit. Now that we've introduced ITC and PTCs and all of these tax credits, let's transition into the market. What are you seeing out there? And maybe walk us through where it's going after that.
Yeah. No, I'd love to. A couple of years ago, again, 2022, with the Inflation Reduction Act, there were some early estimates that the government had sort of put out there about what, when you're issuing credits as the government, you don't have to budget for them, actually, which is kind of interesting. It's another discussion. But the whole point is you don't really have to go to the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. They more of provide some feedback to Congress or to others about like how many credits they think are going to be issued and what they think it's going to do to the economy, that type of thing. So when these credits became transferable 2022, the initial estimates were that they fell over the next 10 years, that they might be issuing somewhere around 300 billion credits. Now that's a lot of credits, and that's a lot of dollars flowing in to the renewable space. And we'll get into this later, but you're seeing a lot of funds and others that are moving investment dollars because these incentives are juicy and people are loving that. But recently, after a couple seasons, seeing how much investment has already been coming into the space, they recently updated those investments, and now talk is that it's going to be closer to about $1 trillion of credits that they expect to issue over the next decade. And that is just based on the amount of capital that they're seeing already inflow into the space relative to these credits becoming transferable. But they're also seeing, again, like the type of speed and growth with which these projects are getting stood up and the benefits that they're having around the country as well. You're seeing that in a lot of Southern Belt states. We'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, it is making the transformational effect, both from an energy infrastructure standpoint, as well as, whatever your incentives are from that and what you think are the priority is there. Seeing more energy, infrastructure being built at a rapid speed. It's been incredible. So.
Yeah, I love that. So they originally thought 300, but now they're looking like it's going to scale to $1 trillion in what we're calling gift cards, IRS gift cards, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's more of saying a really cool thing in a funny way, but there is a program. The point is there's a program to help offset some of the returns that you've got. Congratulations, you got returns. Now we need to properly address the tax burden on top of that. Now I know contacting you and all that stuff at B10 Energy, that's a great way that a lot of family offices, and you've helped to the tune of plenty of billions of dollars of family offices under management. But is there a resource out there that other people can learn, or maybe a marketplace that you can speak of?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of great resources that are out there. I mean, one of my favorites personally as well. So Crux is another business that's out there. They've actually opened up, specifically to your point, a marketplace where those with projects can bring their projects, bring the tax credits from those projects onto the marketplace from the supply standpoint, and those that have tax liabilities. So on the demand side, that's an excellent place. Like your listeners could go today, cruxclimate.com, go to Crux, make an account. You can sign up there. You can start looking for projects and looking for tax credits, getting an idea of how much they're willing to sell them for, where are they being generated, where are they coming from, and start to look at opportunities to offset tax liabilities by leveraging a marketplace like that. We get hit up quite a bit by a bunch of other technology companies and those looking to get in the space. So I've got a fair amount of evidence that there are more marketplaces that are planned and looking to expand and to start. So I would imagine that over the coming years, there's going to be, a lot of really, really great options. But the one, again, that I like the best today, we do, full disclosure. I mean, we've got an account with them as well, and love working with them. But yeah, Crux Climate, Crux, I think, fantastic business. So you definitely have your listeners check that out.
Yeah, I love that. So Crux, CRUX, climate.com, correct?
That's right. That's
awesome.
Right.
So, I also mentioned that I'm curious, and just in your opinion, not financial advice, but in your opinion, where do you see this market going in the future? Where does the horizon lead your mind?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And part of it is because it's definitely come up with it being an election year, and this being something that's driven by government incentives, government programs. So definitely there's some chatter about that. And you do have President Trump, who vocally has said that he's opposed to the Inflation Reduction Act and would like to see it repealed and things of that nature. So, definitely it raises a lot of these questions. But I think, those that are really kind of in the space, have been working in the space, the amount of activity we're seeing in the space and the money that's flowing into the space, and those that are growing, I think everyone's of a pretty similar opinion that they don't see anything really changing here for at least another 10 years. And I think a lot of that is driven by, it doesn't really matter what side of the aisle that you're on, whether you're blue, whether you're red, however you're going to vote. The blue side of the aisle voted this into law and obviously big fans of it for their own reasons. You also now have the red side of the aisle that, even though President Trump's been pretty vocal about that, lots of articles. I mean, Bloomberg Law has had a bunch of great articles recently about House Republicans, Congress, the legislative branch, really being pretty vocal about how, on the red side, these red Republicans not interested in seeing that thing repealed. Not too surprising. Many of these guys that are benefiting are the senators and legislators in Southern Belt states that are seeing a lot of the investment dollars flow in there, Texas, Oklahoma, others of that nature. And so, I don't think you're going to see the votes for repeal on the red side. The blue side has no interest in repeal. And I think across the board, everyone's sort of seeing this is having a positive effect that we want in the market, regardless of your politics. And, the United States and all global countries, I think, as technology advances and continues to advance at a pretty rapid rate with, things like AI, digital assets, other things of that nature, computing power is a big deal as we move forward. And computing power requires energy, requires electricity. It just does. Our needs on an energy standpoint are continuing to grow all the time. So my opinion, and I think the opinion of everybody, we need more oil and gas. We need more nuclear. We need more renewables. We need more everything. We need hydrogen. We need solar. We need it all. And we need a lot more of it. And so any investments going into that space is a good idea. And I just think that, you're not going to see any changes in the changes you are going to see, I think, are going to be positive changes for taxpayers and investors, because they're seeing that these programs are working, moving dollars into a sector that desperately needs these dollars.
That's right. And I would hope and I would assume that whoever takes office, I don't really lean one way or the other. I'm not even American, but definitely all of us are influenced by what goes on there. So I would say, hopefully on economic advisory and all those things, that they're going to look at the data at whatever it is they're saying. I don't love it. Hopefully someone's going to say, but if it's working and it's actually moving the country in a positive direction, hopefully they still keep it. And it sounds like this is a wildly popular one, not just because you're reducing your tax bill, but it's also encouraging energy development, which, you mentioned the candidate President Trump or former President Trump. Sounds like he does like energy, traditional energy, but I think he's pro on that side. But it's not that the other side isn't either. Let's be honest. They actually created this bill. So both sides of the aisle, I think, agree that we need more energy. And I think really the discussion is how do we get that going? How do we get investment dollars in the country? And this is working. So not only do we get more energy development, but all investors, we now have marketplaces. There's investors directly investing in these projects, indirectly saving from these projects. So the investors are happy with energy development. That, I would think, is the overall objective. Because once you got investors loving a sector, you're going to get more of them. And once you got more investment, you got more development, and great, we're off to the races.
Well, and I really love that and love Canada, love our neighbors to the north, brothers and sisters up there. So nothing but love. And I love that you brought that up, because what has really been something that I think has been a really positive benefit of making some of these changes happen is it has allowed foreign investment to be able to come in to America's infrastructure, make investments here, have it pencil for them with that, because that's the sector of the market that cannot use a federal tax benefit, right? Like you're a foreign investor, U.S. tax benefits, unless you've got investment interests here, and you have business interests here, like those aren't helping you, right? And so, but having these foreign dollars be able to come in purely because the economics on a project are different now, benefit that way, and then move the tax benefits to those internally within the United States that can use that, right? It's just a huge win for everybody. And I think that this is a global, issue. Just energy in general is something we need more investment in. And now everyone can play in this field, benefit, and see the world become better as a result. So,
yeah. And spoken like a true impact investor like me. So I love it. Yeah. And foreign direct investment is a wonderful way that can obviously help to reduce trade deficit. And it really is quite positive. So I know through finance and exporting services as fund managers is a great thing that the U.S. likes. There's a lot of programs. We did a whole show on that too, but we won't go into that now. But FDI is a wonderful way to also raise capital as long as, like you said, the economics are there. Moving just rounding third base here, we've talked a lot about energy and the markets and tax credits and the marketplace for where investors can acquire some tax savings and get your proverbial gift card. But really in this game, and this is my favorite segment of the show, is providing our listeners with an unfair advantage. So we bring professionals like yourself on the show and we say, look, you've been in the game for a while. Help people who are just hearing this and was like, what is this great stuff that I'm listening to? Help them cut through the noise, get right to the signal, and provide a competitive advantage. What would you teach them? Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And that is one of the things I love about your show and your community, right? I just think you've got an incredible community here, Ryan. And I just love your focus on delivering value. So I definitely want to be a part of that. Grateful for this. So, we talked, if you are an investor, you're a domestic, United States investor, and you have large passive income liabilities, from some of your other investments, real estate, other things of that nature, then, you could be an excellent candidate for these credits being able to eliminate that income. Or if you're, again, CEO or executive at C Corp, same sort of thing. So this could be really great for you. We've talked about, Crux Climate. It's a wonderful marketplace. I highly recommend everyone go create an account on there and go take a look and just see some of these projects. You will see a lot of projects on there, and you're going to see bids. I mean, they'll cross the board, but you're going to see bids somewhere maybe between 91 to 95 cents per credit. I think that over time, you're going to see those numbers start to come down as supply and demand economics sort of really get to play out a little bit. But if I was one of your investors right now and one of your listeners right now, Ryan, and I was really interested in looking into these credits for real, you can go direct to developers, right? I think, Ryan, you've got, you guys have projects, I think, at Invictus and but there's other like direct developers of renewable energy projects that are going to have these credits. And oftentimes, I think that you should, your listeners should actually be trying to target maybe somewhere around, 95 or 85 to like maybe 89, maybe 90 cents, but more in that range. So I think they can get a little better deal than they might commonly see through a typical marketplace environment right now. In the future, I think that changes. But for right now, you can probably get a little better deal by going direct to the developer. You might have to do a little bit more due diligence on the projects by doing that. But again, if you've got large liabilities, I think that largely that could be worth looking into, for your listeners. They certainly would get a little more bang for their buck and could afford to spend a little more time on that due diligence.
So let me make sure I understand that, because that's amazing. So there's two sides of this transaction. Shocking, right? Yeah. Never heard of that before. A transaction with two sides. And so any impact investor, I know you used me as an example, and full disclosure, disclaimer, yes, I do invest in clean energy. So it's something near and dear to my heart, even though I'm not soliciting any investment at all, but just using it as an example. But this literally applies to anybody. So what I think I'm hearing, and you make sure that I'm honest, just for our listeners around the world, is one way, easy way, just go to Crux Climate's marketplace. I'm assuming there might be a little bit of a premium to that. I don't know, but the price will be what it is, just like any other market. Or the alternative is if you're an investor in clean energy, or people who are doing projects like you mentioned, you could talk to them. And so I think what I'm hearing is if you're actually developing green energy, that may be a way to add some profitability by selling off those tax credits. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone that's developing renewable energy absolutely should be dialed on this. Like 100% for sure.
Awesome. And again, not soliciting, but would you guys work with those people to help get that ready for investors to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do that all the time. I mean, we have our own projects, but we do help sell the credits for others that have projects. And so, yeah, for sure. We're a resource, but like Crux is a great resource. You can find people, right? It doesn't have to be us. So
yeah. Okay, great. So, and then you said you should be market price around 85 to 89 cents per credit to save $1. That part I want to make sure that you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the little like inside scoop for your, for your listeners, right? I think if you're out there in the open market, if you're like looking on Google, you're on Crux. I mean, again, you're going to be getting different mixed signals that way. I'm just telling you as somebody that's working in the industry, seeing a lot of these bigger deals being done, like that's really where these things kind of end up penciling well on both sides. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not quite there and you want to put a little more due diligence into the mix, like, you might be able to kind of get an end target somewhere closer to that.
Awesome. So again, this just obviously we're just illustrating an example here, but in this example, the hypothetical investor could save anywhere from 10 to 15%.
Yeah, 10 to 15% discount on your taxes. Exactly. I mean, that's like they're going to Costco. They're buying, that's $100 of tax elimination for $85 or for $89. You know what I mean? Whatever. So except they're doing it with $100,000 or $200,000 of taxes that they're eliminating. That they're buying for 85%. 50% discount.
Yeah. All right. So Mark Cuban, I hear you, man. So this is a way to, I'm sure you've got a decent tax bill, we'll say, but that's definitely a great way to help create tax efficiency through the programs that the government literally created for investors. So I absolutely love that. I know there's like residential solar, commercial solar. How does that all fold into what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so if I was looking to make investments directly into projects, because again, we kind of had carved out at the beginning, right? You got these tax benefits that now you can buy, right? You don't need to be tied to the project, but now you can also invest in projects and sell off the tax benefits and make the projects pencil a little bit better. And, if I was interested in looking at investments into, specifically into renewables, looking at these types of economics, it really depends a little bit on the size of investment that maybe you're looking at. But, I think commercial solar is a fantastic place to get started. Really, you can kind of accept, that market and that segment's able to accept investments of really pretty much all sizes, north of maybe $1 million, right? Once you start getting into things like hydrogen, clean hydrogen, wind farms, the cap stacks on those, right? You need, $500 million, right? To implement something like that. So it can be really, really big. But, on the commercial solar side, you can build, anywhere from 1 megawatt projects, and invest in 1 megawatt, 5 megawatt projects all the way, to hundreds of megawatts of solar farm projects, right? And there's an abundance of opportunities that I think are available out there in the market right now. You can go direct to, to different developers. There's funds that are investing in these types of things. Again, you didn't specifically ask, but, Invictus, right, is a fund that you guys make investments in that. There's others, that make investments in that. I mean, we accept investments, into projects like that as well. So it's like, there's a lot of places that I think you can go to look for these opportunities, and they're becoming more and more abundant all the time. And I think that for the next 10 years, it's an excellent way to be able to get into energy, and that the returns are going to be pretty fantastic for the next couple decades. So
brilliant. Yeah. And so we're not soliciting anybody for investment or anything like that, but we're definitely moving the needle forward on some exciting things at invictussovereign.com. You can learn a little bit more about that. But again, not a solicitation, just if people always ask me, what am I up to? So that's one of those projects.
And I know what you're up to. That's why I brought it up. But I thought, because there's a lot of great ways to get involved.
That's right. That's right. So as we wrap things up, is there anything else, any final closing remarks that you'd like to share, ways that people can connect with you, anything at all?
Yeah. If anyone would like to connect, again, happy to have different conversations, especially for those looking to get into the space, whether it be from the tax credit side or the investment side, and would love to point you in the right directions if we're not the right fit for anything like that. But, so you can go to our website, B10 Energy. So the letter B is in boy, 10, B10energy.com. My email is Nate, Nate, at B10energy.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can just look me up, Nate Bradshaw. Bradshaw. Happy to connect with you on there. And anyway, yeah, I think those would be some excellent ways. If anyone has just any interest at all in talking about the space, getting at better ideas, if they'd like maybe some connections, introductions, other private equity, family office in the space, if it's a relevant connection and it would be meaningful to both sides, like those are the types of things I'd love to facilitate. Or if anyone's interested in the funds that I think are doing a great job, again, I know you guys aren't looking for that solicitation right now, but Ryan, you've got some great stuff. There's other funds I'm aware of that are doing some really exciting things in the space. So there's definitely, if people are interested either on the tax credit side, the investment side, or just the energy side in general, and just kind of nerding out on that, I'd love to hang out and talk. So.
Awesome, man. So just to summarize everything that we talk about, buy the credits in the open market. You mentioned cruxclimate.com or work with you guys directly. The other thing is invest in commercial solar. I know Texas, Oklahoma, these decentralized places tend to be a little bit better. So look for those solid places. And then finally, just look for people who are investing in renewables and see if you can work something out. You do these things and you too will be well on your way in your pursuit of making billions.
Wow, what a show. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Now, if you haven't done so already, be sure to leave a comment and review on new ideas and guests you want me to bring on for future episodes. Plus, why don't you head over to YouTube and see extra takes while you get to know our guests even better. And make sure to come back for our next episode where we dive even deeper into the people, the process, and the perspectives of both investors and founders. Until then, my friends, stay hungry, focus on your goals, and keep grinding towards your dream of making billions.